Jon Hughes is a realtor and sales manager for the Mike Wood team located in Reno, Nevada. His goal is to deliver exceptional results and success to his clients by offering convenience, speed, and expertise in all aspects of real estate transactions. Since starting his real estate career, in case you want to learn more about his credentials, he started in 2012. He managed over 400 closings as a short sale and escrow manager from 2012 to 2015. Then he transitioned to list properties. He listed over 250 properties in 2017 alone as a listing expert. He has trained dozens of agents. He's a current real estate coach and consultant. If you haven't already watched the video I did with Jon about his coaching business, definitely recommend watching that. And he has closed over 35 million in over 115 personal sales. So all that to say, Jon is a very successful real estate agent. But to go back to the very beginning, Jon, I'm curious, how did you originally get into real estate?
Oh, gosh, good question. So I broke an ankle. That's the original way I got in. So I used to be a commercial truck driver before I was in business. And for 9 years, I was a commercial truck driver, and I broke an ankle, couldn't drive, had to sit in the office for 6 months, and during that time, had to go through all the Microsoft Office certification and bookkeeping skills and basic front office skills, and I never went back. And my first position in a real estate office was as a front office person answering phones, and that was my first toe in. And from there, I just built up into the admin side and then into the sales side.
That's a very different career path.
Very right, yeah.
So following the unfortunate event of breaking your ankle, were you specifically seeking out a position in real estate or just some sort of desk job at that point?
No, it was just some sort of a desk job. So I had a friend who worked in a real estate office who they needed someone in there to that would answer phones and to work with the short sales with banks, and someone who, for lack of a better word, she knew I liked to debate and argue. So she knew I'd be a good fit to work with the foreclosures and short sales and talk to the banks and be that intermediary and argue with them. So she asked me when the position became available if I wanted it, so I took it.
So then how did you transition from front desk to realtor?
That took several years. I was managing short sales foreclosure departments completely, and then TC departments. And then in order to transition through the backside of admin and into operations, I had to learn the sales side. So I got in sales originally to learn it, so I could then teach it and teach that side of things and move up in the operations world. And so I never really did a lot of full-time sales in my career. It's always been mostly in operations as a standard, and then sales as on the side. But I didn't do sales I've been in the industry 4 years. I've been licensed 2 years before I did a single sale.
Do you remember where you got your very first deal from?
Yes, it was a short sales sign call for a little condo that I think was $70,000 back in 2014, and now it's probably 400,000. So big difference in pricing over then, but it was a tiny little condo, cash condo. And I was still an intern technically an intern in the industry at that time. So I think I made $500 on that deal. But I remember it vividly.
Yeah. No one so far I've talked to has forgotten their first deal. So you are staying on trend. At this point, I'll probably be concerned if someone forgets where they got their first deal from.
Yeah, it was in a condo complex that I lived in, so it was very easy to remember. And I know this place is great. Yeah, I used to live here. Kind of thing.
That's great. So with the Mike Wood team, what does the team structure look like? I know that you're the sales manager. What does the rest of the staffing and team look like?
We have 7 agents. We have 7 agents total. We have a Zillow Flex team that includes a total of 15 agents in our brokerage. So we're kind of a mixed team model. And Mike's the team owner. I run the sales operations inside. We have several admin marketing staff. Built out. It's 4 admin people total, 7 agents internally, and another 8 agents externally that make up our total team structure.
Would you, I'm sure you know the answer to this. I'm just curious, would you be open to sharing where the majority of Mike Wood team's business comes from?
So our number one lead source is Zillow Flex. And so that's our highest converting lead source. I wouldn't say it's our number one volume, but it's our highest converting lead source that we actually internally take. We do a huge amount of new builds. So that's our main volume comes from new builds. We work with some big developers in order to list a lot of the new build properties. So between those two is the majority. Our individual agents are about 60-40 sphere and team lead. So again, Zillow making up the majority of those, but they run about 60% sphere and 40% team leads.
So with your first lead source, Zillow Flex, Zillow gets a lot of flack and hate online. Why do you continue getting leads and partnering with them, and not dropping them and looking for something different?
Because they convert better. And so when you're in the lead gen side model, the way we do it, um, you have your SOI. It's a big part of it, and everyone's like they should focus on the SOI. That's true, but you want to be able to build your SOI. And so because Zillow is such a high converting lead source, that builds your database and it builds your SOI. Those close, those turn into SOI. And so closings are the best referral clients. And so the more closings you can get from any source is the what we believe. And so everyone can hate on Zillow, they still convert. And I work in the world of conversion, so I care about what converts the most. And if I'm going to build a high converting team operation, there's no reason not to use everyone that there possibly can. So to me, I don't have the issues because I care about the conversion in the end, regardless.
Yep, numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. So numbers do not lie. I love data for that reason.
Yeah. And then the second lead source, new builds. Do you happen to know, did Mike Wood follow a specific strategy for developing those relationships with those developers?
No, those were long-standing SOI relationships that he had that in order that there. So there wasn't a way of building that as much as it was. Reno isn't that big of a place, so when you meet the right people, you just stay friends with them long enough. And so and Mike's been over 20 years, so he's got a lot more local time in the industry than I do. So he's built those relationships. And he was a bartender in the past, and here in Reno, that's we are a tourist town, so it's a good way to start in the industry here. A lot of bartenders in Reno become realtors and are very successful because of all the relationships they build over their bartending careers.
Yeah, yeah, they're um, great people at starting relationships and uh,
He's been around, so Reno's pretty small compared to most markets. So, 10, 20 years ago when it was half the size it is now, even really small, if you knew one person and you were friends with them and you saw them more than once, you would maintain a good relationship and that would turn into business down the road. That's what he did. That's all.
so when you joined the Mike Wood team, were they using Follow Up Boss or were they using a different CRM?
No, they were using nothing. So I joined the Mike Wood team in November of last year. At the end of November and in December, I started building out their systems. They were using just a brokerage free CRM and nothing else. They had no setup SOPs, no setup systems, absolutely nothing. So in the last 7 months, I essentially built it all from scratch and slowed it as much as possible, but to get it out so that it doesn't, you know, destroy their team mentality from having to change everything so quickly because it was a lot in a short amount of time to try to do all this and build all these systems out. But now they're implemented. Now we just got to use it. So first 6 months, we had a year plan, right? First 6 months build, next 6 months, actual use so we can get the full data spectrum for a full year.
How did you decide to choose Follow Boss as the CRM for them?
I've been a big boomtown aficionado for a good decade, and when I forget, that's where I used quite a bit heavily years ago, and have been then transitioned to each brokerage to whatever model they were using. Follow Boss was one that I came into as I just did another demo of scenes on there. And because it integrates with everything, it really provides a central hub. It just became the one that, for me, from someone who does the lead management and operations standpoint, that was way more convenient and customizable. So it's that's why I like Follow Boss more than any others. The fact that you can do so much to it and with it and integrate with it, and it customizes it between whatever brokerage or system or model you want to possibly use. I have consulting clients that have that don't even work in real estate and use Follow Boss because it is such a platform that allows you to do whatever the heck you want to do with it, and to a very high level degree if you're someone in my field. Um, but it's just it's just better. I haven't found one that does as much as you want it to do, allows you to do as much as you want to do from a really high level. Everything else is pretty locked. Follow Boss is pretty open, and that's why I love it. And so as long as that interests me, it's open. That's better than everything else.
I agree. Yeah, it's the best CRM I've seen out there. I use it for my consulting business as well, our business, and it's very malleable. You can use it for any business outside of real estate as well.
And only getting better. And I think also that's a big there's the speed of how fast they get better is a big value add. There are a lot of really great CRMs out there, but they take a long time to make a change and to improve. And so when Follow Boss can do it in months instead of years, that makes a big difference of usability to the platform.
So you already had at the time joining Mike Wood team, you had a lot of experience as a real estate agent, as a successful sales manager, a coach. What problems were you and the team facing that you were trying to solve with the setup of your Follow Boss CRM?
Uh, so to capture the leads that are being missed, they're without a CRM, you can't see the majority of the lead activity that is being missed. So the agents were only hitting up the leads brand new, and if they didn't capture them right away, if they didn't get them on that first call and that first click, they're done. They're in the wind. That lead doesn't get touched again. There's no consistent follow up that is really necessary in order to really capture that 80% of the leads that you're missing, right? Because that old standby of 80-20 rule where 20% of your business, right, or 80% of your business comes from 20% of your leads is fantastically true. And what I saw with their systems is that they were not missing all of their old lead databases. So, 15,000 leads that hadn't been touched, and so building these systems out is how to recycle and get those leads, retarget, remarket back to the leads you already have in your system to find the ones that need to be serviced correctly, and then as well as then take new leads in and nurture and follow up them correctly to generate more business and increase conversion.
So what then, now that you were aware of the problem, what then led you to seek outside help with setting up the CRM for the Mike Wood team rather than fixing the problems by yourself?
Well, we all have the things that we're good at and not good at, and one of the things I am not good at is copywriting. So when I look for help, I look for people that are good at and have an experience setting up the things that I am not good at or don't have the time to do. Just like anybody else, I don't have the time to spend to build out a lot of the things that others can do that are better at. When I reached out to you, it was because of the same thing. You were in a system that I had taken over previously, and what you do to help alleviate that, weeks of time of building all these action plans and base level automations and communication lines that I know are absolutely 100% necessary, but I don't have the time to do that and to do it, to get it up and running, right? Because that was the goal. The goal was to get this system up and running quickly. And so when you do that, you can't do it all yourself. So you got to bring in outside help. So reaching out to you, reaching out to Elena and with them and a lot of those outside vendors to help with implementing these kind of things and VAs as well to just do the legwork it's just smart business.
Yeah. So a lot has happened. I didn't realize it was such a short time frame from November last year to July is like less than 7 months or about 7 months. What does the CRM setup look like now as compared to what it was at the very beginning?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful now. It's it's automated. It's we have accountability built in place now that in that aspect. So when the lead comes in, we know that it's being handled correctly. If not, it's being moved around to get opportunity facing the rest of our agents for them to make attempts on. We have lead flows that are very heavy lead flows that are all set up with automated communication, right? We have our AI communication going. We have agents in there making calls through the systems, appointments being set through the system, deals being placed in the systems. We're able to track and see everything. So the visibility of the performance of the team was something that there was not even in existence, last year. And so just to know where we stand is where also from an administrative standpoint for ROI and CPL and cost per lead and return on investment of where we're at, that didn't exist last year. So just having that ability to have that data now is huge from an operational standpoint. From the agent standpoint, we can see who's actually working and doing well and is good at these leads, right? So we can know where the problems are and where the holes in the systems are and how to address them, or who, if we need to bring in more people or focus attention on this particular lead source. We can see that. The agents can see all the activity of the leads now with the property searches, and that's a big thing, is be able to pay attention to a lead when it's active and doing something and know about it, and versus just trying to go in there and make cold calls. We don't do cold calls technically. Everybody in our system is warm. They've all reached out to us in some way and requested some kind of information, or they are active on our websites in some way. So we target that activity, which is a huge shift that didn't even exist a year ago.
Can you remind me how long has the Mike Wood team been using the setup that Key Technology provided?
Oh gosh, I think it was January. I think January when we implemented it, when we got it in there, the Mike Wood team. So I've used with previous teams. I've had other teams that have used your setup in the past, and they're years into it. Very similar on it, but Mike Wood team is 6 months in, on at 7 months in at most.
What I know you just listed a lot of things that are now set up in your Follow Boss CRM, but what results have you seen from that setup, either from the Mike Wood team or from other teams you've worked with?
So with our team, I think what we're seeing mostly is the conversions is great to see the data. That we don't have enough data yet to see what the conversion year to year is going to, what be the change on that. But what we are seeing is the database is cleaning up, and that takes time. So when you build a database like this, and you import 15,000 leads, right? There's a lot of cleanup that has to do. There's a lot of people that have already purchased and are no longer looking, and a lot of what you've set up, and it helps identify that and move them into the right place. So some of the things, the renters to buyer stuff is like transition to that one's fantastic. I love that because it gets them out of our system, communicates them with them directly. Um, Seller communication aspect, finding people who have already purchased and then transferring them to seller communication instead of buyer communication. That is a big key aspect that for us, we really focus heavily on listings. So we want to know who bought a house. So combined with the key technology messaging, we can really target that messaging towards people, which there never even was. And that is turning more listings. So that's where we're seeing more of the return on the communication is on the listing side. People who are really actually trying to say, oh, we've already purchased, now we may want to sell. Or we have a lot of old leads, 9, 10-year-old leads in our system. So there's a lot of database in there of people who've already bought and are now ready to sell. That's the biggest thing we're seeing. Outside teams out there, there's what they're seeing is all the communication from actual leads, the responses. So high response ratios, and remarketing back to the websites to get them back to looking at property. That's the biggest thing that people finally see when they actually set these systems up correctly using the proper drip templates and action plans and automations. They actually see the activity and they can do something about it. So being notified, getting the responses, the email responses, open rates. Your stuff always has great open rates, and so it's just easy. It's just easy to follow up on. Using Follow Up Boss and your stuff, it's easy to just respond, right, and pay attention to those responses and do something about them. So um, that is where the opportunity comes from, and that's where you see people increasing their conversion, getting a few more deals here and there out of it per month per agent is what we're looking for.
So Follow Boss is a CRM. You've got the automation set up by Key Technology. You've built upon that to create sales management and accountability and SOPs. How does Ylopo fit into all of this?
Ylopo is our IDX system. So we use Ylopo for our property search platform and for the AI communication. So those are the primary things. We do some of the marketing, we do lead gen through them as well. But a lot of that is what we use them for primarily is the property search and the AI. And by far, I lean heavily on their AI because we have such a high lead volume and don't have a lot of agents. The AI system comes in to back our team up quite heavily. So we utilize that to funnel communication and point communication out when it need, on the backside.
And if I'm not mistaken, Ylopo not only has AI texting, but they also have AI voice. Are you using both of those?
We are, yeah. So we're using both of those. So AI voice, we're fairly new to, only about a month in, and absolutely love the concept of having that. I've had ISA teams before here. We're not big enough to have a really full ISA team or component. We've had ISAs working our database right now on that, but we don't have an in-house ISA team. So we use a combination of the AI and live people to check on everything and manage every activity and action that we possibly can.
So I know you're fairly new to AI voice, but you've probably been using their texting, their IDX a while. What has your experience been with Ylopo so far?
Well, fantastic. If you're open to remembering that AI is there to generate responses, not to take over the conversation, not to have like this, not to build the relationship, right? It's about using AI to generate a response and then taking over that response. So that's something I'm really key understanding about that. With AI, you're not letting it have the conversation. You want it to start the conversation and you want to take over and see that conversation and take it over and convert it properly. But I'm big on it because it works when everyone else isn't. And so having the AI there just always running in the background, paying attention and working as we call it our concierge. So it's always reaching out saying, "Hi, I'm Teresa, the concierge." And so we keep it that way, and it funnels that communication to us and is visible, and anybody can go in there and take it over. So it makes it, because of the way that Ylopo has it set up, that any agent who has access to stars can go in there and take over the conversation, allows anybody to use it to increase their conversion and funnel the leads directly to themselves, right? And so I like it for the reason of it doesn't have to be one person managing the whole thing. All the agents can do it. All the agents can see it. All the agents have the opportunity at it. And I don't have to have a separate ISA that just works that one thing, right? I can have agents that are paying attention, which we do. We have agents that are just paying attention to the AI responses, and our AI voice pawn is specific to a certain number of agents, people that have a better chance at converting those deals.
On our previous conversation, you mentioned that you're constantly keeping an eye out and a pulse on technology and AI. Besides Follow Up Boss, Key Technology, and Ylopo, are those the main three tech tools that the Mike Wood team uses, or are there other tech tools as well?
Maverick. We use Maverick RE as on that product because I'm so heavy into sales management. I love having automating data, and so Maverick is a fantastic platform to compile a deeper level, a bigger view of data in one place than just FUB alone or Ylopo separately. So I used to use Sisu quite heavily, and to me, Maverick was like the perfect combination of like Sisu and FUB into a middle platform that is like Sisu, that does the kind of data collection that Sisu does, and then gives you the integration with Follow Up Boss. And so Maverick is the one, and it's because it gives you the sales. Plus, it has the AI sales coaching, right? And it has a lot of other components, but the nudging capacity of Maverick and that platform for the sales management side is just fantastic. I have used quite a few others integrations with Follow Up that I don't have with this particular team, but I've used Interface quite heavily in the past. I like that integration with FUB. It's very clean for their forms integration. You can do a lot of automation build outs on there. I've used Lead Engage quite a bit as well, and for others in the past for that ability to communicate across platforms and social media channels. So those are the other two that I have used, and I will probably end up getting and building out. It's just step by step with this team.
Yeah, for sure. So, last question for you as we wrap up the conversation. I'd love to hear of one lesser known tip or innovative strategy you've implemented in the Mike Wood team. It doesn't have to be specific to Follow Up Boss or even tech. It could just be something that has an impact on their lead management, client retention, business growth, or just increasing sales. Is there one thing you can think of?
Um, I think the biggest change that I would say to pay attention to out there is to focus on the lead activity. The ability, like Follow Boss makes that very easy with the integrations with anything to see when a lead is actually looking at a property, and then it bugs you about is to pay attention. That changes from making a bunch of dials to actually targeted conversations are on leads who are actively doing what they need to be doing, to where you're spending less time chasing leads who are inactive and more time chasing the leads who are actually on the website looking or who have interest or responses. That is probably the biggest shift I've seen in the last several years that people should be making to really change their business model and get away from just dialing a lot of leads, is to really be able to use systems to focus on the activity of a lead. That's the biggest factor I think I would say that everyone needs to be doing. If you're not paying attention to the lead's pure activity, you're missing out on the majority of what's happening.
I love that. Yeah. Chase activity. Don't just chase leads.
Don't just chase leads. There's plenty of leads out there. Leads are easy. Find the active ones. That's where the focus should be.
Well, I appreciate your time, Jon. Thank you for sharing your insights and beyond, not just your background and your experience with key technology, but lots of tips and knowledge was shared on today's video and in your previous video. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I love working with you, Elena.